Good morning or afternoon. This is Mr. Aguilar. I'll be giving you a brief introduction to economics. So be sure that you have a good understanding of these basic concepts because you're going to need to apply them when you're doing your packet, your accelerated packet. It's going to be a two-part video. The first part, we're just going to talk about economics a little bit more broadly, just because it's such a complicated topic. And then later, I'll get more into the nitty-gritty of the more specific concepts you'll have to apply for your packet and perhaps your essay. Okay, this is kind of just a lesson that we're going to be doing together. So if you're in my class, you're not going to be watching this video because I'm just going to pull you in for this day. Ponder these questions a little bit, perhaps, if you're not actually one of my students. Think about what is economics, what is money, what is a financial revolution, how will economics affect your life. Maybe watch this video with your partner that you're working on the packet with. Ponder these questions because it's a little easier to grasp these concepts if you apply your prior knowledge to the present. So take some time, pause the video, and think. Okay, cool. Let's discuss these topics now. So economics. A lot of people think that economics is just like the study of money. No, that's not what economics is. Economics is the study of choices a society makes with resources, not money. I have this little picture here. It is a picture of an Inca market. So that was a prominent empire in South America prior to the coming of Columbus to the New World or whatever. But one thing that's notable about the Inca is they had a very advanced economy with many goods and resources and services being traded amongst each other to create a very wealthy society, especially for the top. However, they didn't have the concept of money. So we can see that economics does not have to do with necessarily just money. We'll talk about what money is later. But more importantly, economics is what does a society do with their resources? And they're really big, like a couple questions that all economists ask themselves. The first is we want to maximize the usage of the resources we have to affect society in the best way. So kind of abstract. Basically, you grow a lot of corn. You're going to want to make sure all the corn gets to as many people as possible to make sure that society can eat and thrive. But they usually ask these few things. What should be produced? How should it be produced? And who should it be produced for? That's really the three big economic questions that all economists grapple with. If you're like, I have the answer, I kind of doubt it, but maybe you're going to be the next Nobel Prize winner. But these are the things that all economists have tackled with and grasped, and different economic systems such as capitalism or communism have different answers to those three questions. What should be produced? How much should be produced? And who it should be produced for? Because everything's finite. You probably like everything and for everyone. And yeah, well, that's the answer. Well, you only have so many things in the world, and you need to figure out best how to produce those resources, who should produce those resources, and whom should get those resources. It's complicated. Okay, next up is money. The thing that people think that economics is, no, money is a part of economics. Money is a tool in an economic system. What is money? Money is trust inscribed. As you can see here on the screen, I got pictures of different currencies throughout time and different regions. So if you pull out a dollar bill in your pocket, it's going to say the phrase in the top right-hand corner right here. In God we trust, okay? And then in this Canadian coin we see right here, rest in peace Elizabeth II, but we see D.G. Regina, which stands for Di Gratia Regina. So that means, by the grace of God, Queen. And then I'll get to this cuneiform thing here later, but you're like, okay, why are you telling me this? What do you mean by trust inscribed? In God we trust, by the grace of God, Queen. These things are kind of saying the same thing, but differently. Money is basically trust that people have in this currency. I know it's kind of complicated, but basically think of the value of money. What is money physically? It's just like a dollar. Like you can't really, or like a paper. You really can't do much with it, but it is very powerful. And I do this for all my students in the little class when we're doing our thing together. I basically give one of my students a $100 bill. I don't let them keep it because, I'm a teacher. But I give them a dollar bill and I say, how do you feel? Like explain to me how you're feeling. They either say powerful, I don't know, I can do a lot. but I just gave them a piece of paper. Why do they feel powerful? Well, because they trust that when I give them that $100 bill, they can give this dollar bill to anyone else in our economic system, aka anyone else in America, and they can get a good or service from that person because they can trust that that person can trust that that person can use that $100 to get some other good or service. We all have this intrinsic trust that this piece of paper will be able to give you something of value, even though it's just a piece of paper. That's what money is. So for ours, we say, in God we trust. But do we actually trust in God? Like some of us do. But it's more that we trust in this economic system. A lot of times you'll see like the famous, like in like olden day money and like modern day places where they still have a monarch like Canada. They won't have Queen Elizabeth anymore, but they're going to have like King Charles or whatever. But there's the face of the monarch. Even in olden days, like Julius Caesar was on their money and whatnot in Roman times. And it says, by the grace of God, King, by the grace of God, Queen, yada, yada. So what are we like trusting these monarchs for? And what are we, like, in God we trust? Well, why are we like trusting? Well, who's to say, for example, that Queen Elizabeth, or I guess she's dead, King Charles doesn't decide to just like print a bunch of money? Because if there's like so much more money in the world and like $100 doesn't really mean much to anyone anymore because you can just pick it up like on the side of the road like we can with pennies. Well, that money doesn't really have too much value anymore. So when you see like olden day with like monarchs with their faces engraved on the coin, it basically means, well, we trust this monarch is not going to like print off billions of these dollars to make the money that we have in our pockets useless. So yeah, it's in God we trust, or we trust that this piece of paper will have value to the person next to us and the person after that and the person after that, so we can use it for exchanges. When you see things like this, it's basically like they're not going to just, they being monarchs, are not just going to print so much where the money in your pocket doesn't really mean anything, so you really can't trust it in anymore. Does that always happen? No. Sometimes monarchs do that, and you see a lot of collapses happening. But yeah, that's what money is. It's a tool used in an economic system where trust is inscribed, and it makes transactions easier. You can see this cuneiform. Does money have to be like a coin or like a bill? No. This is like one of the first monies. I think this is actually the first money ever in their name, but they're like a seafaring people in the Mediterranean. I'm sure the name will come back to me later. But money can be anything. As long as people can trust, they can use it, and it'll be valuable to the person next to them or whoever they want to make a transaction with. Some things make money better. Some things make money worse. Like if we just use like a leaf for something, well, I can find a leaf outside. So how can I trust that I'm going to be able to use this to get something of value from someone else? You know what I mean? That's money. Okay, what's a financial revolution? A financial revolution, simply put, and this is going to be the last term we talk about in our intro video, because I know it's just 3 terms, but they're pretty big terms. People spend their lives studying these things, right? A financial revolution is an idea or an invention that changes how a society behaves in an economic system. So basically, people can come up with like these ideas and inventions. It's not just like in the science realm where people come up with things that change how humans live. This can also happen in the economic realm, which makes it so exciting for me, right? So what we see here are 2 things, and I'll kind of give you an example of an economic revolution or a financial revolution that you're going to kind of need to know for your notes too. So what we have here is a little emblem of a famous family from Italy known as the Medici. And the Medici are very famous for coming up with the financial revolution, an innovation that changed radically the society in Renaissance Italy. That invention being a bank. Probably like, that's not that like fancy or crazy, and like, why do banks really matter? Well, I'll tell you why they matter. How can a bank radically change how society behaves? A bank is a place where people can deposit their money, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the next slide. But a bank is basically able to loan out or give people money on the promise that people will give them that money back, or able to loan out money to people for people to utilize that money and those funds for something in the immediate, in return for giving that bank money back, usually with interest or basically paying them back a little bit more. So how did this financial revolution change Renaissance Italy? Well, the Renaissance Italian cities that were kind of close and buddy-buddy with the Medici bankers, the people who made the bank, the Medicis, they were able to get loans from the banks, and the enemies of the Medici were not able to get loans for the bank. So I'll give you a simple example. Say I'm a Renaissance prince in Italy, and I'm like in charge of like Venice or whatever. And then there's like an enemy city-state close to me, and I want to try to defeat him in battle. But me and my enemy only have, and I'll make it really simple, like $100, and it costs $10 to hire a soldier and like get him his gun to fight. So on the surface, it looks like it's going to be an even fight since we both have $100. We're both going to have 10 soldiers, so it's probably going to be a draw if we fight in a war. Well, what if I'm able to talk to my Medici friend and I'm on his good side? I'm able to basically borrow $1,000. Now, my army is going to be 10 times as large as my enemy's. I can defeat my enemy, pillage and plunder his city, and like take control of his citizens and their economic system, plug it into my economic system, and I have much greater wealth, and I'm able to repay that loan I have on my bank, with the bank that I borrowed from the Medicis. You see how drastically innovation such as a bank, something so simple, can drastically reshape borders and history. Pretty crazy, right? Next up, I have something here. You might be familiar with this. This is a Bitcoin, a question mark next to it. What's with the Bitcoin with the question mark? Well, a Bitcoin is a financial revolution in flux. People don't really know if it's really going to change how societies behave in an economic system. People think that this might be a new currency that people use for transactions that some would say might replace money, or others a little bit more moderately would say that it's going to become just a part of the economic system. I would argue that Bitcoin is already a financial revolution. Yes, I understand that the Bitcoin are like crashed or whatever, and cryptocurrencies are kind of on the low. Right now, as I make this video, hey, maybe when you watch this video, it's going to be on the up. It's kind of how financial or cryptocurrencies work. But these currencies, in my opinion, are already changing the way that people are behaving in an economic system. So yeah, I know there's a lot of big ideas, financial revolution, money, and economics. You're going to see all these concepts being applied in the next video, and almost all the terms I use in the next video are all various financial revolutions that change how a society behave in an economic system, right? They're all ideas that change how people behave. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.